Well, I figured I would try something different today. I am going to give the Puzzle Rush feature on chess.com a try. So this is in survival mode, so there's no timer, but it's just a matter of seeing how far we can get. So let's see how we do. So this looks like a mate in one. Okay, black to move. I'm surprised this one actually looks as difficult as it does. I think it's just this. All right. Back rank checkmate. Okay. Black to move. This piece looks to be hanging. Black to move. Mate in one. Black to move. So the king is kind of trapped in the middle here, and I'm looking at putting the queen right here. And that looks to be it. Okay, this looks like mate in one. So we're in check, and the queen could recapture. And if we do, this seems like a major material advantage for the game. So I think that looks to be it. Okay, white to move. So this is one idea. Just looking to pin the queen. Is there anything stronger? Any other checks? So there's this check, but then we would lose our queen. This check. That doesn't seem to do much. Seems like we're supposed to do this pin. Don't see anything stronger. Yeah, that looks correct. Let's try it out. And then I think we'll just take. Okay, so white to move looks like a back rank setup again. If the queen goes here, that looks correct. And we'll just capture these pieces. Okay. White to move. This looks like a mate in one. White to move. So capturing here looks like it traps the king. Okay. This knight is pinned. But this king is, again, it's another one of these traps. Okay. So this is a back rank checkmate, but it's a two-stepper. So you check the king to make it back up. Then you check again. And then you take. Okay, so we're in check. So I need to capture it. And the queen looks to be the only piece that would do so. Because when you're in check, you have three choices. You can capture, interpose, or flee. So in my case, the king, there's nowhere for the king to flee because the queen covers it all. Interpose, there'd be no point in blocking. So it must be a capture. Black to move. This looks pretty appealing. Don't want to do it with the bishop, or you allow us an escape square. Okay. So black to move. looking at this piece or this move right now. There's really only one thing that white can do in that case, and then you could take the bishop. That seems pretty good. Let's do it. Okay, so white to move. Knight's covering this square, so if we do this, it's checkmate in one. So this looks appealing, but the king has an escape. If we invert this and put the knight there, queen will want to move somewhere. Perhaps it could do a check on my king here and then take the knight, so that's not good. Let's make sure I don't make a mistake on this one. So if we do the check first, king goes here. Throw in another check here. And I think we're good to go. Check. Check. Okay. That's the first one that catches my eye. There's no piece that can actually interpose here, so the king has to move, and then you can put the queen right here. Okay. Black to move. I'm looking at this move here. Only thing that white can really do is push the pawn, take, and then move, checkmate. Okay. White to move. Okay, so this one has a few options. So this piece will hang if I move my queen off of this file. And this bishop is covering this square, which would normally be pretty tempting. Another option is to go like this. And that looks like a main one. Okay. So this is the kind of thing where just generically I feel like I want to involve more pieces, like my rooks. The only problem is, how would I choose between them? Seems a little bit arbitrary, but before I do that, let's see what this does. So check, king moves here, check, king moves here, checkmate. That looks better. Cool. Okay, so black to move. And white is about to promote another queen, and they have two pieces defending this square, and I have two attacking. So this will not work out well for me if I don't do something immediately. So check, take, check, block, take. That should be. We'll go like this. Excellent. Wow, 4 pawns to 1. So an endgame puzzle. So if it was white's turn again, the only thing damaging white can do is try to push this pawn. But if he did, then I would spend the tempo to move next to the pawn. So until that happens, I think I want to push this. And the other thing I'm looking at is normally, like if my pawn reaches here, I'm looking at this square to see can the white king enter it, and he can. However, his own pawn will get in the way of him stopping this promotion. So, and then now I'm going to spend the tempo, and then I'm going to continue. And I have to take, and then I can continue. Sweet. This looks like a trap. Like the king is basically trapped right in there. So take, or rather, knight f3. Okay. These are going to start to feel a little bit more difficult soon, and I will need to slow down considerably. Okay, let's see. White to move. So if this bishop weren't here, I would love to just do this, because this is not an escape square because of the pawn. So one idea was just take the bishop, but obviously we are attacking their queen. So if I take the queen, then on the following move, I could simply do check, king goes here. It's actually a little bit awkward because I won't be protecting the rook that would be here. What if I don't take the queen? If I just take this, take it out of commission, right? Then he could throw in a spite check. And if I took, then he could take, but I would just check, king moves, and then my queen moves here. This one is a little bit trickier. Is there something even more forceful? What if we just put the rook there anyway? Bishop takes, queen takes. That seems best. More forceful. Oh, well, you know what? I am glad that not noticing that you are in check the entire time does not cost you. Okay. See, this is what chess blindness is all about. So the fact that I am in check makes this a considerably more obvious puzzle. You have to deal with it. So let's take the bishop out. And there's the spite check I was talking about. So we'll take that. Okay. Let's make sure I'm not in check this time. I'm not. Okay, continuing. So white to move. And this bishop is attacking my rook. This queen is attacking my queen. Could just do a check. King has to move. Let's see. Well, if we took the queen, that doesn't do anything. It helps black develop a piece, and we still got to deal with our rook. So we definitely don't want to do that. I like the check. If the king moves, what do I do? If I take the bishop and the king takes, then I can move my queen here. That seems pretty decent. Let's do that. And then we take, and then we put our bishop or our queen right here. Unless Is there something stronger? Hold on a second. Check. King can come out though. That doesn't seem any better. So if we do this, King's gonna back up. What am I missing here? Let's see. Can also do this. If the king comes out this way, that doesn't seem any better. What am I missing? These are sometimes quite tricky. I do like this move here, but if he goes back, there's, obviously there's a rook lift coming, but that's a bit slow. So check, king goes back. If you do something like this, then the queen is still here to protect. But the queen can go here. Okay, so let's try this one more time. Check. Or, excuse me, hold on a second. Check. Bishop goes here. Now, what if the queen... Yeah, if the queen goes here, then they just hang their queen. So, I like that. Let's do that. So, check. Oh, okay, they don't even ask me to complete the puzzle. Okay, so I have to be weary of a back rank checkmate if this knight moves. So if I did something like this, queen would come in and it's game over. So I don't want to do that. Looking at this too. Because the other thing is there's two attackers currently on this piece, and there's two defenders on this piece. However, if I do this, the queen needs to get off that file, and then I can take the knight. That seems kind of nice. But then maybe the pawn could threaten my knight with the pin on my queen. I guess I could just take the rook at that point instead. So queen has to move somewhere like maybe here, threatening my queen like a trade. If I take the queen, that rook might back up and then I could take the knight. That seems... So basically I think there's a few permutations that could happen, but they all seem to stem from doing this. Because I can't take advantage of like this idea because of this rook. I feel like that is the correct first move. Let's try it. Okay, so we're just literally witnessing a queen sack, so the only recapture is the pawn. And in this case, you're going to give play if you capture with the rook. But the thing is, hold on a sec, so there's two captures still at play, right? So, and in terms of, hold on a sec, look at this. Check. Does that, well, there's still an escape. Just making sure there wasn't a mate integrated into the middle of this one. Could do that. King goes here. Then you take. And now this knight is pinned to the king. That's kind of cool. So you throw in the check. Because basically, if you don't do something, this rook will take your queen. So you're either basically doing this, this, or this. Could kind of make a case for a few of these moves. A lot of them seem kind of winning. I do like this check though, because if the rook just goes here, then it's just, you know, mate. So if you go like this and the king has to escape, then you take, and now you're getting the knight as well. But you know, the rook could go here, threatening your queen. So then you check the king. Yeah, I actually really like that idea. I hope I'm not getting too fancy for the level of the tactic, because obviously, you know, you can play like this or this, and the game is still, you know, I guess even, you know, you could still, no, you don't want to do this one because you'll hang your queen. So, but yeah, there's a few different moves that seem like they're all winning, but the strongest one seems to be this one. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm in check. Another case where I'm in check, so that reduces the odds. All right. So yes, lesson to myself, keep looking for checks. I think it's tricky for me sometimes when I'm looking at puzzles because I'm if I'm playing a game, my radar is dialed into when somebody puts me in check. But if I'm just like fresh eyes looking at a puzzle, I'm not always looking with the assumption that I'm at that moment in check. So that's clearly a weakness of mine when it comes to puzzle solving. I should probably work on that. Okay, black just made this move, and it is white to move. Interesting piece imbalances we've got here. So we've got a check here. Anything else with this knight, for example, requires multiple moves for maneuvering. Bishop seems like it's more of a supporting piece right now. I could see something like, you know, king moves. If the king moved here, and too slow though, but it would be nice to get the bishop here to pin. So if I do this, check. If he moves this way, then I just check with the queen pin behind or skewered behind. So king won't go that way. Can't go down. So has to go this way. And then I can still do the same thing. So that seems pretty reasonable. Let's do it. And then we'll just do that. Okay. Moving right along. So it's black to move. We've got a discovered attack on the king, and just to double check, I'm not in check, but there is a clear risk of at least a check right here. Doesn't look like anything more, but let's see, there's a pawn too, so check. That looks actually more dangerous. Check, you got to move back and then some sort of capture or something. So I got to do something pretty quick. Check, moves, check. That seems pretty good. I don't see a way around that. There's no way to... Well, hold on. So if we do this, the bishop can interpose. I take it. King then moves. I go like this. No escape. Yeah. think we're good. Okay. White to move. So right now I'm looking at these are all covered by the rook. This is covered by like both bishops or both pawns at the moment. I'm thinking about this move and what does it do? So there's still this square to worry about. This is the one I'm kind of pondering. So if we do check, king goes here. Is it, I mean, there's a slow, slow move is just you move the king over with the intent of pushing. Wait a minute. Sorry, miscalculating here. So check, king goes here, king comes up with the intent of pushing this pawn on the following one. That might be the fastest that can be done. That seems pretty reasonable. So check. So the idea was to do this followed by this. So they're going to have one tempo to try to save themselves. Can they do that? I don't see a way for them to do that. Aha! We have that pawn move. That was a good refutation. So I think if we do this to prepare this, I think we'll be good. That seems like the right idea. And then we do this. Excellent. Okay, it's black to move. This feels like back rank checkmate time. So we can't move this rook, though. That is a problem. There's also this bi-directional skewer with a queen going on here. Let's see if we can unwind this. So let's just rule out some. So if I were to do this, for example, that doesn't seem great because then I'd be losing in one move, right? Because I don't see a way for black to stop that. So this is a bad move. This is a check, but then, okay, if the rook takes it back, I can't recapture because this is pinned and now there's two pieces attacking. Yes, I get the queen. However, I won't be able to stop this checkmate. So that seems like a bad move as well. So we've ruled out this is bad. This is bad, I believe. Another idea is taking this way. Then the rook has to recapture, and then we can now freely do our checks. Because then he'll take, and then I'll take again. That seems like a good idea. So just starting, I'm going to double check this one more time. So take, forced, take, check, take, take. That seems good. Okay. Excellent. So now we are playing as black. This looks certainly tempting. Rook takes, check. So we've got a few ideas. If that takes, take, we're only left with basically a two rooks. This one actually, sorry, this one actually like forces you to end up with a queen here. King goes like this, perhaps something like that. This pawn still hangs. So the question really is which okay, wait a minute, I'm confused. I'm looking at this backwards. I'm playing white, not black. Okay. This is what being tired is all about. Okay, so knight g6, excuse me. Knight g6, we've got a check. Oh, this one looks a little tricky. Is this the right way to do this discovered? Hmm. I see. So yeah, we have a rook and a knight for two rooks, and we're also down two pawns. So yeah, we're down like 4 points, I think. So yeah, this has to be a pretty compelling move. No sacrificing. So if we do this, check. He comes here. I support the knight with the intent of doing this. Seems pretty good. Check. And we'll take that. I mean, I'm just trying to think about, do I want to do that? Or do I want to just like avoid the conflict entirely? If I did, then he would just take the pawn, so I have to take. And now I think I will come back up here. And I guess I will take again. All right. See if I can not get confused this time. So black the move, and I am not in check. Those are the two things I must watch out for. Okay, what do I do? I'm looking at this loose pawn here. I'm also kind of considering something like sacrificial. Like this seems too slow, right? With the threat of doing this, because if you do this, you could just do something like that. And I guess you could try to infiltrate, but then the king might go like this. Seems too slow. What about this? This is more forcing. Take, take. King or queen goes here maybe. Then what would I do? I don't have enough firepower. Hmm. This one's looking a little bit more difficult. So let's look at that again. Take, take, take. If the queen goes here, I don't think I see a way. What's the piece imbalance on this one, actually? So we've got queen, rook, two minors, and seven pawns versus queen, two rooks, one minor, and eight pawns. Okay, this is going to be slightly more complicated math. So basically we've got 6 plus 5 is 11 plus 7, 18, excluding the queen, versus 13 plus 8, 21. Okay, so yeah, white has quite a bit more material, so I don't know if I can get away with a sack here. We'll see. I would like to get this rook in play, but it's basically stranded. And anything even more crazy like sacking the queen, like what would be the point? There's nothing I can see to do that, or no reason I can see to do that. And also this knight and this king, this is a 4 move apart sequence to use the knight as a checker. So my thought is this knight is probably likely to stay static, and we're going to end up wanting to have our queen likely on, well, it could be this square, but it's probably this square or along this file. So let me try this one more time. Take, 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 queen defends. What do I do? Let's see. Okay, think I think the original idea I had might work. So imagine this. Queen goes here. If the king, well, the first thing the king wants to do, well, here, let's start with this one. If the king, like, kind of nestles up to this pawn, then you could do this, checking the king and allowing you to pick up a free queen. So won't do that. So let's say we do this. Pawn pushes forward. Queen goes here with the intent to infiltrate. So at that point, king needs to do this, and now we're back to the same thing. I think that's the idea. This one's a lot more quiet, though. Yep. And then you do this. Oof, that one was actually pretty tricky. Okay. So we've got a pawn, obviously, as a target here. If we take, so we're not in check. If we take this pawn, king has to move here because this diagonal's covered. What do we do now? Could do is just bring the queen back here. With the threat of going like this, so the king has to come out this way. Check. And the king can't escape because of the file. So that makes sense. So we'll do that. Check. And we're going to go here to make the threat. Okay, that's one way of dealing with it. I think there's no checkmate anymore, and we want to recapture with the pawn. Just double checking, I don't see a checkmate. Yeah, I don't see one. Okay. Now we are on the next problem, black to move. I am not in check, but I do see my rook is under attack. Okay, one thing I'm looking at is this pawn is hanging with the threat of coming back here, and this diagonal is covered at the moment. So the question is do I just ignore this and make that threat? Probably a good idea. Because if white does anything other than react to this situation, they're checkmated in one move. So they have to. So if I do this and they have to react, they probably want to push this pawn. So the question is, how do I deal with that? So if I do check, king walks up here. That's tricky. Having a hard time seeing it. I think there's this. No, that's got this knight. Hold on. I think the knight's involved. I think we would go this way. Yeah. So take, push. Oh, I see. This pawn is covering this square too, though. I'm not sure about that. Let me ponder this one for a minute. So another idea I have, it's a slight variation, is take, push. If I take the pawn and the pawn recaptures, then I've got a hanging queen. But let's try a different refutation. I take the pawn and perhaps the trying to think about what the right idea is. What if the queen just came here immediately? Then you could do check. King could escape even. Or no, the bishop's still there. This one's actually pretty tough to see, but it all seems to stem with starting from this capture, and then this push happens. I think we need to ignore this. Let's go for it. Okay, so at least we were on the right path. I still kind of feel like I'm supposed to take this. This was what, because at a minimum, if he doesn't take and he puts the queen there, now I've got some more infiltration options like here, because this pawn won't be here. And that was kind of, let's try it. Because if I put him in check first, he comes up, and then where's my counter? Like, what do I do now? I don't see an option at that point. Okay, that's cool. Was exactly what I was initially calculating, so that's nice. If I do this here, threatening the queen, then queen could just go like this. Then if I do check, king can escape this way. And I don't think I have any recourse. That doesn't look like it works. So what if I do this first, like this? Check. Queen is to block. Then we do. Then we do check. King is now defending. I think I like this. This seems like a awkward. It's check king blocks because they have to, or queen blocks because she has to, and then it's take with check. So the king can't recapture. The queen can't take that because queen's going to be pinned. So let's do that. Check. And the knight is likely going to be the one that... this one's tricky. So if I do this, you know, we're still seeing the king run away. And then bishop goes here. King has to keep running like one of these two squares. Ooh, this one's really difficult, surprisingly. Yeah, this seems like the right play is to involve the knight. I don't see another way about it. Oh, okay. I guess that is the end of that puzzle. All right, so we are now on probably a 2000 plus rated puzzle. What do we got here? Black to move. Both of our rooks are under attack. We do have a way to salvage the situation with a discovered check, which seems like a initially good move to consider. Let's see, in terms of piece or material imbalance, what do we have here? We have 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 5 pawns. 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 5 pawns. So we're completely equal in material, and this will allow us to take a lead by 3 points. And then the king probably moves here. Doesn't have to, could do a block of some kind. But this is a 2000 plus rated puzzle. It should be a little bit more complicated than that. The other thing to think about is we don't just, we can take that, or we could take this 5-point piece here, but then lose a rook, but then we'll gain back the knight. So that's actually a little better. So we're up 5, down, now we're equal, and then we're still up a minor, and we've removed more pieces from the board with check. I guess you could take this way instead. But I keep forgetting this is a discovered, still a discovered check. So this gives me 5 points. So if the king were to move, so the real question is, can we get out of this without giving up any material? I think that's the point of this puzzle. So take, if the king moves here, for example, then another option is to go like push this pawn with the intent of putting a check or threatening another capture, but that's kind of cool. So it's like take with check, king. If the king moves here, then you can do something like this. But what happens if the king just goes here? So let's try that again. Take, king goes here. Bishop could come back to here, I suppose. Check. Um, yeah, it's hard to know like how to calculate where the king could flee. But another scenario is I could see like, this rook being stuck on this square at some point, like kind of forking these bishops, and if either bishop moves, then it hangs the other rook kind of thing. Although in this scenario, this bishop isn't actually protected. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like take if the king goes out this way and you go like check, if the king continues to run like, this way, then another option is this rook goes here, threatening this bishop, which makes the bishop have to come out this way. Yeah, this one's tough. I can see why it's rated what it is. I think, yeah, I think I'm supposed to take this piece here. It's a lot more complicated to calculate if the king goes out. If the king goes in, I think it's pretty straightforward. Check, king goes, pawn pushes. If the knight takes, rook recaptures. This rook wants to move out of the way of the bishop, and then you would do checkmate like this. Rook would, or bishop would block. Bishop would take, I think. King could go back, and you could just back it up or something. But I think the king's going to come out. Definitely tricky to calculate. Let's try it. Oh, we got one wrong. Oof, that one hurts. That one really hurts. All right, well, I'll have to take a look at that afterward. Okay. White to move. So I'm looking at this pawn push. See if we can open that up. What else? So there's no checks on me right now, but in terms of checks that I can perform, there's really only two, and the pawn will recapture either. Let's see. Like if I did check, pawn takes, pawn takes. I don't think I can see a clear path forward there. Hmm. If we do this knight can't come here because it'll hang itself. So only other valid place is here or here. So let's say the knight goes here. We could then push the pawn again, threatening to take and open this up. So pawn probably will push this way, and that would create a hole for this knight. Still not sure I see the full way in, but that seems like a reasonable way to approach this puzzle. I would like to get the queen involved. There could be a path this way, but I guess I will cut it off if I push this pawn forward. So if I do check, pawn takes, pawn takes, I would like to be able to do something like this. but this knight is protecting this square. So I don't have an infiltration point if I go that way. Yeah, it seems like I've got to push this pawn. And then if the knight goes this way instead, just to kind of explore that for a second. Pawn pushes again. Knight pushes. Knight checks. I guess this pawn can also keep going. So hold on, let's look at this. This, this, this. So this knight's not going to be defended. So I wonder if you could threaten to do something like, this kind of idea. All right, so I think it all starts from here, though. Okay, unexpected. Did not expect them to just leave their knight there. So if we take there, it's gonna perhaps open up this file with some activities like this, perhaps. Another idea is throw the check in first. That pawn takes, then you take. Don't really see that quite working either. I don't know what the deal is with the queen, but that would make the queen move, but I guess it could go like throw in a check here, which is where it's headed. I don't like that. So this is the next move, and black's got these squares covered. And I don't have a way to block that, so I would have to, move my king. So yeah, I need to think a little bit carefully here. So I think the challenge with this one is if it was black's turn again and he makes this move, king has a couple choices. He can go here or here. So if this happens and king goes here, then Houston, we have a problem because this check basically is checkmate because there's no way for the king to escape. Both these squares would be covered, so that's a mistake. So if check, king would have to go here. And what I'm looking for, or looking at now is, well, okay, so if this happens, check, you wouldn't want to move the king back or you get into some discovered checks. So therefore, you can go like either here or here. Yeah. So that'll be a decision point is, what if I go back, if I go here, then the king or the knight can just come back and throw another check in. And I'm like, does this improve my position in any way? The real question is I'm examining this so that I can figure out, am I at risk or can I, wiggle out of this check? Because if I can, I might just take this. But the problem is that opens up the file. But there's no other supporting piece right now attacking this pawn, so I think we can get away with this. I'm going to go for it. Take. Okay, so there's the check. Okay, and it wasn't here, it was here, but for all intents and purposes, same idea. So I should not go here because check mate will follow. So have to go here. Oh, that's it. All right, not going to make me prove out the rest. Okay, so this looks like I would like to just do, oops, I would like to just do, if I can draw with my mouse, this. However, there must be a reason that this is going to be a concern. Let's see. So if I do this, what am I missing? Maybe it's just an exchange sack. Take. All right, let's take a look at material on this one. I think this is an important one. So I see. Yeah. Okay. So we've basically got 5 plus 6 is 11 plus 4 pawns. So we got 15 excluding the queens versus 10 plus 3 is 13 plus 7. So 20. So yeah, essentially black is up 5 points. So they would totally be okay doing an exchange sacrifice. So if I did this, yeah. Another idea is, what if I put the, nope, can't do that because the king will take. Um, he's got 2 pieces protecting this pawn, and I've got 3 attacking it. So if I back the bishop up, you know, another idea is, what about this one, transforming it into this type of scenario? So if we put rook on h3, h5, and if we en passant, then we will hang our bishop. So we do that. Bishop's taken. Pawn pushes, check. King moves. Queen goes in? Question mark? How does this work? How does the end play out? Hmm. Wonder if this knight can come into the picture. Yeah, because this is going to be like a pointless move here because it's like take, take, take. It's like black gives up 1 point and completely mutes my attack. This one puts a little more pressure on. So after this, if I don't en passant, then I don't see another option. So I think I have to take, or yeah, we'll take through en passant. Take. Is there a is there a good time to do this? Like something like get this here where because the rook and no, there's a rook covering that file too. So yeah, this one's tough. I think though I think it involves this. Oh, let's see. Is there a sack? Check. Oh, how did I miss that? It's a queen sack. Woo! Check. Take. Check. King goes here. Rook goes here. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, need to see those more in game. Yeah, very pretty. Okay, we are on to the next one. white to move. We're not in check yet, but we're about to be through a discovery. So we've got like we do something really forcing. Like what if you do this? Check, king has to take, and then you do this. That seems legit. Excellent. Whew, that was great. Okay. White to move. I'm not in check, but I'm about to be through another discovery. And my king or my queen is under attack too, so that's pretty painful. So I'm looking at this move, maybe a forcing move here. Because if you just do this, right, it's completely muted by like, you know, you can basically like they can move their rook somewhere, like, you know, even if it's just like out of the way, right? Your queen is now pinned to your king, so it's a bad spot to be in. Actually, okay, so if they did this, then yeah, your queen is pinned to your king and the bishop is now protected by the rook, so you can't recapture it. But you could then do this. Another option is, let's just look at this most forcing. Check, take. I'm looking at, there's two checks at this point. There's this check and there's this check. Okay, so bottom line is if I do any move other than something with my queen, then my queen will be toast unless it's like a check move. So I'm either doing like this move or I'm doing something like this with the intent of following up with this. My problem is, so let's see, white has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawns. So we're really dealing with a rook, a knight, and a bishop for a rook, and a bishop. So basically the knight that white has is exchanged for one of the rooks. So white is down the exchange at the moment. So if I throw more pieces at this, just firepower might be an issue. So king recaptures, queen puts the king in check again. King moves out of the way some direction. The bishop needs to get out of the way so that I can bring this rook here in the follow-up. That might be about the best play I've got. The other option is just bring the queen with the intent of doing this, but this is easily defendable by moves like this or this, or this with check. Yeah, so like you could do, you know, if that happened, check, bishop goes here, bishop takes, queen takes. How am I playing this? That doesn't feel right. I need some initiative. I think I'm supposed to make this rook sack. I don't know that I can see the full end of the picture. Because I'm either doing this or I'm doing this. I don't think I see anything else. Okay, let's try it. Oh, ouch. Must have been the queen move. Okay. We got one more mistake we can afford. So it is black to play, and I am not currently in check. Um, Black has a queen, two rooks, a knight, and five pawns. White is down a queen entirely. Okay, this is a bit more complicated to calculate. So let's look at overlap. Two rooks and a knight, two rooks and a knight. Okay, so it really comes down to the, yeah, queens, five, five. Okay, this is completely equal. I don't know why I thought this was hard to calculate. Okay, so materials equal, and we need to look at like different checking ideas. Check. King has to move because this knight guards that square. Check. Queen is unprotected at that moment. So wait, check. Check. Yeah, that seems pretty great. There is a check here I got to watch out for, so I can't leave any breathing room. And then of course there's threats of this happening if I'm not careful. So let's do this. Check. Check. Take. Excellent. Okay. Moving on to the next puzzle. White to move. And we are not in check. This pawn is hanging as a result of this move, which allows for a check. So if the rook blocks, we've got another check this way. It looks kind of promising, so they won't block. They'll probably run this way because that's the only other move they have. And then what if we do this check? King could run this way. Yeah, this feels like a good line. I've got to watch out for this rook hanging right here. Or not hanging, but rather attacking me. Okay. Feels like the right idea. And I don't see anything more forcing. Like, can't do anything like that. Don't have enough pieces involved. But this looks pretty promising. Okay, I did not calculate the other rook coming into play. Well, we'll call that dumb luck. So check. King moves up. Um, What do we do about that? Trying to figure out, can I do this? Like, if this happens, what do I do about it? Not seeing a way forward because I can't get this bishop. I mean, I guess you can like do a slow move like this with the intent of doing this because this rook can't take. It's kind of cool. King will eventually probably have to try to escape this way. But at that point, the queen could come back like over here or something. Huh. I like that idea. Let's try it. Check. So this was the idea, right? The rerouting of this bishop. There's nothing faster that I can see. So let's try it. All right, there we go. Excellent. So white to move, we have a pinned bishop. We have a threat of promotion. And how do we deal with this? So if black is allowed one more move and they push this, then we are in a lot of trouble because there's no way that the rook can get there in time to deal with the situation. So the king, however, let's see. So if the king goes like this, this bishop is pinned. This one's a bit tricky. So if the king, okay, so if the king goes like this, what happens if the king tries to break the pin now, right? Threatens the rook. At that point, you could go like this because it stops this bishop putting your king in check this way. Because we have like a a dangerous pass pawn here. I'm just worried. Because yeah, if it was black's turn again and he's allowed to push and then I do this, there's nothing I can do to stop the promotion. So I think the king has to go like this. Alternatively, the rook goes here. So the question is that a better move or not? Okay, so I'm really struggling between this move and this move. My reasons for this king move seem like one concern I have for this is that, I want to centralize my king and help escort a possible promotion. But on the flip side, having the king here kind of gridlocks, like, this pawn can never move because the bishop would be hanging. And I do like that. If I make this move, though, king's going to try to chase the rook away. Rook goes here. Bishop can't go here because it would be attacked. This is just tricky because it's such a quiet move to this puzzle. Alternatively, if I just do this proactively, the rook can just, or the king can just go here. Like if this is the first move, king goes here, then what do I do? I feel like I don't know. This is tricky. Then we've got like scenarios like this bishop could come out like this, threatening to attack this pawn. I think I like playing this move. Let's roll the dice. Oh, we got it wrong. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed my run. And if you've never tried a Puzzle Rush, I highly recommend it. This video went a little longer than I anticipated, but if you weren't talking it out loud, you can probably sneak them in under an hour. So I hope you learned something. I will be reviewing my mistakes as well. Until next time.